All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's webinar. Uh, we have an amazing guest today. We have Ira Frimere, and thanks to everyone for joining us today. So, Product School, we teach about product management, coding, data, and blockchain at all 14 of our campuses worldwide. So, today we have an awesome guest presenting. I'd like to introduce Ira Frimere. Ira will talk about how to be a good emotional leader. And yeah, welcome, Ira. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Kylie. Thanks for having me, and thanks to all the attendees for joining.
So if you'd like to start, and just as you're loading your presentation, just let us know about how you became a product manager
All right, we'll do.
or why you kind of got into it. Yeah, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
we'll do. All right. So once you can stop sharing screen, then I'll start sharing.
Okay.
Okay. All right. You see my screen okay? Um, Great. So a little bit about me. I grew up in Staten Island. I went to SUNY Binghamton. I graduated with a math degree. And I'm coming to you right now from Greenwich, Connecticut. Normally I would be in an office, but I have two boys, and my older one has been battling a little bit of a summer virus. So luckily, a neighbor was able to stop by. So I'm coming from you from the kids' playroom. I have two boys. I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. And if you see some Paw Patrol stickers in the back, I will yelp for help if I need it. So anyway, graduated math degree from SUNY Binghamton, got my first job as a QA engineer working for a company called Raytheon. They're a defense company. So it was a really great introduction into software development from someone who didn't really have any sort of computer background or any software background. So working for Raytheon, working on critical systems, granted it was a waterfall cycle, not like today's agile cycle, but it was a really fantastic experience of getting exposed to what the software development process was all about. So requirements code, test, design, obviously. So it was a really great experience. I was living in the Massachusetts area, and I was living in Boston. So when sort of the dot-coms started up in the late 90s, early 2000s, I decided to jump in that bubble. I took a job as a QA manager for a company called iWant.com. And that was pretty cool because it was so different from working at Raytheon. So I went from waterfall to agile and iterative, and just being into the whole sort of emergence of that dot-com bubble before it burst was really exciting time. So while I was filing all these bugs working at the dot-com, and after having filed so many bugs working at Raytheon, I started in my bug reports. I started finding that I was continuously writing how I thought the system should work. And then I started thinking to myself, well, this is pretty fun and I like it. And instead of finding the bugs afterwards, it would be great if I could be involved in the design and the requirements and hopefully introduce less bugs. So that's why I really started to get into product management. I started asking my manager if I could design some features. So for those of you out there on the call who are considering getting into product management, that was what worked for me, was just going to an engineering manager and say, hey, listen, there's this feature I know we're working on. Can I build up a design for it? And that's what got me into product, and it was a really exciting opportunity. So from like many other dot-coms in the area, unfortunately I didn't make it and it went under, but it was a cool experience being involved in that. And then I joined a couple of digital video companies in the Boston area and one in the New Jersey, actually, working on video chat and interactive television. After doing the startup thing for a few years, I then thought it might be a good idea to go to a big company that I thought would do really well for many years. So I was fortunate enough and landed with Nokia, pre-iPhone and pre-Android, and I worked in product management on smartphones and mobile computers, which was an incredible opportunity, incredible job, up until Apple and Google decided to get involved in the space. And then that company that I joined that I thought was going to be around forever is no longer making cell phones. So that was, as much as it didn't end maybe as I'd originally thought, it was a great experience on the business side as well as on the technical side and product management, working in a really exciting space. After Nokia, I joined a company called Gartner, which is in B2B. I was back in digital video and helped them with a video portal. And most recently, for the last 2 years, I work for a company called Acclaro. We do localization and translation software and services. We help companies go global with their content. And my responsibilities involve helping companies get their source content over to us, to our linguists, and then automatically back to our customers. The reason when the product school reached out and asked me to do a presentation, I originally gave this in the New York product school in person a couple of months ago, and then they asked me to do it online. So I saw some of the amazing content that the product school puts out and all the presenters, and from a technical standpoint, I didn't feel up to par that I could come up with something that great. So I thought, well, instead of just presenting on the things that I think I know, kind of wanted to present on the things that I'm continuously working on. So for me, that's emotional intelligence, dealing with, I love being in product and product managing and helping other people's product and manage and helping develop it. Really, for me, it's all about building products and services that make people happy. But in doing that, you have a lot of ups and a lot of roller coaster ups and downs. So I'm always working on how to deal with the emotions when things go well, when things don't go well, how to deal with relationships, inside work and outside of work. So with that being said, this is a definition from Wikipedia on what emotional intelligence is. So I'm going to give you like 10 seconds and just kind of read it and digest it before we get into the meat of the presentation. All right. So I think everyone will probably have their own take on what emotional intelligence is. For me, it's really about being able to step back, think about the emotions you're having, why you're having them, but not just focus on the you, but focus on how might others be feeling, and essentially walking a mile in another person's shoes. So for the rest of this presentation, I thought it might be pretty cool to take it along the lines of what a typical product lifecycle might be. And instead of doing it from that technical product side, but do it from an emotional standpoint. So you just get a new job, you're a product manager, or you just get assigned a new project or a new product to manage at an existing company. Just thinking about what are the emotions you feel at that moment in time. You're likely incredibly excited and inquisitive. Your mind will be racing. You have tons of questions to ask and investigations to do. You might be extremely confident. You interviewed for this job, or you did really well at something else, so that's why you were given this opportunity. Or maybe you're not feeling that confident, and all of a sudden you think you got in over your over your head, and you're maybe confused. But no matter whether you're confident or confused, you're definitely going to want to you're going to be eager to impress the people who put you in this position, and also to feel good about yourself. So that's what the you is. But what I kind of want you guys to also take into consideration is how might others feel while you're kind of riding this high of starting a new project, or others in the company going to be riding that high with you, and hopefully almost all of them will. But it's inevitable, especially when you're joining an existing company with existing product lines, that there may be some people who you work with who don't feel as excited about your arrival and the work that you're doing. Maybe you're replacing somebody who's still on the team, but they're no longer, defining the requirements. Or maybe it's people who just are inherently resistant to change and risk averse. So although you might be so excited and have all these questions and really want to tackle these amazing problems, there may be others who aren't so excited about that opportunity. So with that being said, just a couple of tips of things to avoid and other things to aspire to. So the first, big avoidance recommendation I have is be careful not to be a bull in a china shop. So, or don't boil the ocean in your first day on the job. Rome wasn't built in a day. All the cliches around that. So it's all about, although you have all this passion and excitement, kind of thinking about, just be careful that not everyone is going to really embrace that as much as you are. So, there are definitely going to be people there who do and partner with them, but just because someone doesn't mean they're not going to be a great partner with you down the road. You just might need to figure out a different way of working with them. So from an aspirational standpoint, when you start that new job in the product space, it's all about asking the questions. And just as important about asking the questions, take the time to listen. And you guys, you know the whole proverb of, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so do twice the listening. All right, so next phase is, all right, you've been working really hard, and now it's time either get the first sprint out the door, launch your product, have your MVP ready. So how are you feeling during this moment in time? Again, you're very excited, and that's something that you're going to see often in across all the different phases, and that's why you're in product. That excites you. You're extremely nervous. Is it going to work? Is it not going to work? Is the rocket going to take off, or is it going to explode? And you've also been working so hard in the middle, working between the working with the design team and the development team and sales and marketing, and you're going to want to feel appreciated for that. So that's how you're going to be feeling. But what about some of the other folks in the group? Is everyone going to be just on board and just as excited, or might there even be some people who are going to be critical of the work that you did? They might just be kind of Debbie Downers, or they might be hoping that the product fails. And knowing that there might be those people out there, I just want to give you guys sort of that awareness that not everyone might be all together rooting for success, and thinking about how you might handle that opportunity, that situation. So things to avoid is, it's all about not having all eyes on you, whereas you want it to be that team effort. So don't be on the pedestal, either shouting at everyone about what they need to do or what they haven't done. It's all about, from an aspirational standpoint, building a collaborative teamwork. So it's all about figuring out the problems together. You might be the manager of that and managing the process, but get everyone involved so that everyone feels equally engaged in the success of what you're working on. All right, so let's now go into the next thing, which I hope isn't going to happen to you, but it definitely will at some point. If you're just getting into product, you are going to launch new products and new projects, and they're not necessarily going to succeed the way you wanted them to. You might think you're going to market with the perfect product, but then you just don't get the users, or you don't delight the users. It's really hard to. Sometimes you get so caught up into the product that it's hard to be objective in it. And then what happens is you launch it, and you might feel really deflated, and you might feel really disappointed, and obviously you'll be stressed as well. And what I want you guys to take away is all eyes are always going to be on you. So you signing up to be the product manager, you really are, people are going to feed off of you. They're going to feed off your passion, feed off your excitement. But if you go on the other extreme, they're going to feed off that too. And when things aren't going well, you want to make sure that they see you looking at the glass is half full, and looking at the silver lining and understanding, okay, we may have failed this time, but we're going to address the issues, and together, again, back in that collaborative approach, move forward and do better with the next release. So tips to avoid when facing failures: blame. It's really, sometimes you'll be putting your heart and soul into the product, into the specifications, into the development phase and the design phases and the testing. And then when it doesn't go right, one of the first things, it's just human nature to think, well, did something go wrong and something I didn't do? Did I, maybe there was a big bug. Are you immediately going to point fingers at the QA team? Well, if you do that, then the next time around where you do a big product launch and you need them to have your back, they may not. As much as it is human nature to immediately kind of get mad if you think, oh, well, how did that get into production? And why didn't the developer code it this way? Or why didn't the designer do that? Or why didn't, marketing or sales, like just be very, take a step back and think about, how you want to present not what went wrong and that it's someone's fault, but it's an opportunity to do something better as a team next go round. And that would just be my advice on things to avoid when things go wrong. And from, again, things to aspire to is all for one and one for all, and get everybody involved and engaged so that when things go wrong, you're all one team. And I've definitely made the mistake on the left earlier in my career, and really regret it still to this day. I still kind of have moments where I just look back in time, and hindsight is obviously 2020, but are upset at myself for kind of, getting frustrated with certain team members who maybe made mistakes, and instead of helping them and helping myself deal with it better, kind of pointed blame. And, just recently at Acclaro, we had about, 6 weeks ago, we had a pretty bad bug that made it to production, and we had a big site outage. And I, got a text at 6 a.m. from IT, and the whole system was down and it was offline. It was impacting our business. It was a very stressful moment. And I was like very nervous about my ops manager who was going to give me a call and tell me how much money we were losing every minute. And what was amazing, and I'm incredibly grateful for, is she didn't call to yell at me that the site was down and to blame me. She called literally with, how can I help, Ira? What can I do? How can we communicate this? What can my team do? And it was so awesome that she did that. And if I had done things on the left other times at this job, I'm not sure she would have been, she's great, so she would have done it anyway. But, I think that was a good example of how, what you put out to your team emotionally and out to the universe is what you'll get back. So when things go wrong, deal with it in the way that brings everyone together, not the other way around. All right, now to the good stuff. And that picture on the top right, a little near and dear to my heart as being a Mets fan for all these years. This season was looking really good up until recently, but hopefully we'll come back and have another celebration like that too. So celebrating wins. You're going to be incredibly energized, incredibly proud. One mistake I've made many times in my career is not doing enough of the celebrating of the wins with the team. Sometimes you're kind of like a pit bull as a product manager. You're always on to not what's working well. You're always on to, well, what can I fix? What can I make better? And that's very natural. But I do want to emphasize sometimes to just sit back and kind of appreciate the win with the team. And because not everyone is going to be like you. Some people, you don't want to burn people out. You don't want to burn your devs out and burn your designers out by just incessantly giving them all the things that they need to just work on and improve. You want to take moments to really enjoy these wins. And again, all eyes are going to be on you. So when you're appreciative to the team and thankful for the team and giving them, the praise when they deserve it, and also bringing them up even in times that they don't, like that's going to set the tone at the company and the culture. And that's going to get you through not just the good times, it's going to get you through the bad times where everyone really is going to need to come together. So celebrate those wins, sit back and take the time to thank everyone. Like really make sure you don't just send one big blanket thank you email when things go right. Like those are great to have, but also have those heart-to-heart conversations. Call up your developers and your designers one-on-one, meet with them, and go over the things that they did during that sprint, during that launch, during that cycle, and explain, really give them the tangible feedback of the things that helped the team win. So when things don't go well, step up and own it as the head of the product, head of the project. And when things go really well, make sure you dish out the credit. And if you do that, you're going to get the trust and loyalty of your team that'll really help you throughout your career and throughout the projects you work on. Again, just recapping, make sure you're not this standalone piece. You can't do it alone. You're going to need your team to have your back and to work with you to succeed. And when you celebrate, really make sure everyone at the company is aware of the success and isn't just, it's not about just the product person or even just the product team succeeding. It's about the entire company. If you didn't have feedback from finance and legal and HR, didn't give you the opportunities to hire the people and maintain people, it's really a team company effort anytime a product launch succeeds. All right, so that's with the kind of the whole life cycle of the product. This next, as I was thinking about this presentation, if I was a new PM, kind of what are the things that I'd want to, someone to just give me a quick heads up about things to watch out for. These are just some contradictions I had in mind, things that still happen all the time, and I'll just go through them with you real quick. People are going to say, oh, sometimes in product you need to be patient, but always still being persistent. So always get things done. You may be tasked with a feature design. Say, your CEO may come down and say, I wanted to do X, Y, and Z. Oh, but by the way, keep it as simple as possible. And you're going to have to come up with that balance. There's always going to be the pressures to go fast, but keep quality incredibly high. And what I didn't write there was keep costs low. And it's going to be incredibly hard to balance those three. You're going to have certain cultures of organizations going to say you should always gain consensus, but never wait for it. So that's really hard. How do you balance that where everyone needs to be involved, but you need to get stuff done? People can say you always got to stick to the process, but sometimes improvise. And then this one too is just the reason why things aren't going so well is we don't have the right road mapping tool, or we don't have the right bug tracking tool. And it's never about the tools. It's always the tools aren't going to solve your process or solve your problems. They're only going to help with the process. And then one of the ones I've dealt with many times in my career as well is like, oh, you need to communicate more about everything that's going on. Oh, but by the way, I don't have time to read your emails, or I don't have time to look at the wiki. So people are going to expect to know stuff and not necessarily put the effort forth to read or to learn. But you're going to have to, again, not fall back and blame them for that, but figure out positive, proactive ways of dealing with it. And before we get to the Q&A, just some closing thoughts. You're going to sometimes get really frustrated when problems happen, and that's okay, but just realize you wouldn't have your job if it wasn't for those problems, because that's why you got hired, to help solve them. So always try to change problems from being what's wrong to what can be improved. I recommend getting product steering committees going again, so it's not all about you. Manage the process. Don't just be, you're not just the CEO of the product, you're the team leader. Present as much as you can, both to customers, internal and in public. When you do QA, this is just me putting my old QA hat on, make sure you test to break. And similarly, even though it's might be part of your design and what you've helped build, always be able to step back, look at it from the eyes of a user, and don't be afraid to have constructive criticism, even if it's things that were your ideas that maybe didn't pan out the way that from a market success point of view. That's okay. Stay constructive with your criticism of your own products. A reminder again, emphasizing again, always give thanks to people. It's, people come to work every day because they want to be doing something good, especially in this product space, and help them feel good about that. And then my last advice for this presentation is, if you enjoy your weekends, never plan a push on a Friday. Sometimes you'll have to for emergencies, but yeah, try never to do that. So with that, Kylie, I hand it back over to you for Q&A.
Thank you so much, Ira. It's so cool the more guests we have, everyone's so different, has such different backgrounds, but I love how much you touch on just the humanness aspect. Like, so often we can get caught up in the product, and we can get caught up in just our emotions or the drama of things. And so it's so great to have you, who's such a respected PM in person, talk about your emotions. I love that you helped clarify like everything you said about celebrating wins. Like, so often, a lot of us, I know, as humans, we just have been told to just keep plowing through, and then at the end of the day, if you plow through and you don't celebrate your wins, at the end of the week, end of the month, end of the year, end of your life, you're like, I don't even feel like I did anything, you know? So I think it's so important. And I just wanted to emphasize, I totally agree that when we stop and acknowledge and celebrate, then we're actually honoring all of our hard work. And it's also an amazing time and opportunity to bring the team together. So instead of plowing through, like, I did this, you did that, you got that one, I went, it's like, no, what can we do to bring together? And I just love that you kept bringing back to that concept. It was so great having you. I also love what you said about being aware of your emotions, because what you put out into the universe is what you get back. I'm a firm believer in that. I've seen it happen time and time again. When I'm starting to feel down and stuff, you start attracting worse and worse and worse things, right? And the moment you can be grateful, like you said, like really emphasizing that gratitude for your teammates, for the projects, because you're right, people are human and they do just want love and to just show up and be appreciated and to be helpful. And so if you can acknowledge that in your team, then I'm sure the camaraderie and teamwork will just excel. So we actually only have about 2 more minutes for Q&A. So one of the questions I picked up was, we get this one a lot, and I was just wondering, I have this question from the audience, and then I have a question that I like to ask the speakers as well. So how important is it for a PM to have a technical background? So even though you're talking about emotional context, in that realm, do you think there is a way to integrate that tech background with emotions?
I mean, in today's, digital world, it definitely is helpful to have that tech background. But I mean, some of the best programmers I've ever worked with had philosophy degrees. So I think at the end of the day, if you're getting into product and it's a product that you love and you can put yourself in the shoes as a user and you could increase those technical skills over time, you have a desire. Like if you say, you're going to have to talk to developers at a certain way. Otherwise, they might get incredibly frustrated with you. You don't have to know how to code, but you kind of have to know how the structure of code works and how configuration management works and things like that. So my advice there would be, it's okay not to have technical background to get started, but maybe a path like QA, like worked for me, like could be a good way to start getting that technical background and then migrate into product after you get that. But you do have to have some understanding of how the product is going to be built, how it's going to work, how it needs to be tested. So maybe customer support might be another great way to get started. So that would be, my answer to that one.
Thank you. Yes, I love that. We have someone from the audience that says that the timing of our talk is perfect, and being so human and emotionally driven is very apropos for me starting my first product role. Congratulations, Mandy. That's awesome. And my question that I always love to ask, we're going to go over about 2-3 minutes just because we had about 2-3 minute late start with some technical difficulties on the back end, but we got it going. What everyone talks about why they love product management. So I want to know, you personally, like, what's your favorite thing? Like, why do you do it? Why does it bring you joy? And yeah,
it's incredibly corny, but at the end of the day, like, I just like making people happy. So, and on the consumer side, when people come up to you and say, hey, I used your product and it made my life better, or it was so much fun, or, from a work standpoint, from a B2B, I was able to get this done more efficiently. And for me, that's just, you can't make everyone happy, but I like trying. So that's, it's sometimes it's like being in product, it's just hard because you are very much in the middle, and we talked about some of those things. But when it's good, it's like really great because it just makes you feel like you said, you just want to feel that you're giving back to society and making tangible products and delivering them. It just is a great feeling.
yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much. We have a few more questions, like how do you manage deliverables and tasks, ensuring they're completed on time, but staying emotionally intelligent?
So I use Bugzilla for tracking, and then what I try to do is agile sprints. And what I look to do is get feedback from all the different channels. So sales, marketing, ops, legal, finance, bring it all together. And then what I do is I try to make a proposal of like, here's what we're going to achieve in this sprint. And then I break that down. So it's kind of epics or themes. And then I break that down into individual tasks. And then I try to get buy-in, find out from the devs what they can technically do, what they want to commit to. We have discussions about that. And then when we kind of come to agreement, like, yeah, this is what we're going to try to do, I then circle back with everybody who told me what they wanted. And we kind of make essentially a commitment, say, this is what we're going to aim to get. Now, sometimes things are going to happen and we can't get to everything that we said we would. So we'll reevaluate it in the next phase. But that's kind of how I try to get buy-in and then commitment. And then we go to the extra mile, make it happen, and then do it again.
Awesome. Thank you. And the last one that we'll go to, there's so many good questions, but I think this one, I don't know. Okay, you pick. It says, as a QA automation expert, what kind of projects assignment can one work on the job to make that dream PM transition? You mentioned having taken on some design feature work. Can you elaborate more on such possible venues to explore?
You're doing that QA automation work, you're working on this product, you know it inside and out. Where's your passion for it? And from a constructive criticism standpoint, what opportunities can really be improved or what is totally missing? Try to do a little research, go talk to salespeople if they won't, if they don't want you to talk to customers directly. If you're in the consumer space, do mystery shopping, do competitive intelligence, find that opportunity and then propose the feature and do some design for it and spec it out on a napkin, do a whiteboard. If you know Photoshop, do it. Do some high level sort of shall statements, how the feature should work, get some developer feedback, show it to the product manager or show it to your manager. And I think once they see that you're passionate to work on designing features, that's the perfect foray into product management.
Oh, amazing. It's so great having you. I feel like you just bring such a human aspect. I know all of our speakers are human, but I resonate so much with your well-roundedness and just keeping it real. If you don't know Photoshop, do it on a napkin, do it on a whiteboard. If you do, great, So I think that just really opens up people's awareness and ability to feel like I can do it. This is something I want to do. I have this idea. I want to make this happen, and not feeling like they have these tons and tons of roadblocks, And so the last question that I'll address, thank you all so much for your participation. Everyone says that great talk. This is very helpful. Thank you. Just to give you that feedback. They also say thank you for answering those things. But the last thing, talking about roadblocks and kind of that whole feeling that can occur, how do you manage roadblocks that are caused by varying opinions? Like if you're bringing in people from all those teams. And then we'll close because I don't want to steal your time. Thank you so much.
No, it's great. I think it takes, I really messed this up for a long time before and I'm not even sure I got it totally right now, but I've gotten better at it. I used to just try to get everyone in a room together and we'll just hash it out. Or I'll just hash it out over an email and write some super long email, incredible detail that no one ends up reading. And what I've learned is it takes longer. Have one-on-ones. Have one-on-ones with people, explain to them, get their feedback, and then after the decision is made, circle back again. Have the one-on-ones, and let's say team A wins with their idea and team B doesn't, and explain to team B, here's why we weren't able to go with that idea, but we're going to reconsider it next time. And that's what, here's what went into the decision-making process. So that to me is the inefficient aspect of product management that you are going to have to deal with even if you want to be incredibly efficient, because from a human nature, that's my advice. Like, have the one-on-ones and explain to people because if you don't do that for the people whose idea didn't win, they'll never give you another idea again. And you don't know, they may have the best next idea next time and you don't want them to hold back. So have the one-on-ones versus sending the monster email that, is more of a dictated decision. Have the one-on-ones.
I love that. Yeah, bringing it back to just those human relationships and connections and really honing in on it. Oh, thank you so much for your time. We'll definitely have to have you for some of our other online events. You were so amazing at speaking and sharing. And thank you so much, Ira, for presenting.
Thank you, Kylie. Thank you to Product School, and thank you all the attendees. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Yay. Oh, thanks everyone for joining us today. To get more information on our courses and more upcoming events, just go to productschool.com. We have 14 locations, 12 in the US, 1 in Canada, and 1 in London. If you're located near a campus, make sure you stop by for one of our weekly events every Wednesday and Thursday. We're also on Twitter, Slack, and Facebook. Just look up Product School and you'll find us there. And hope you all enjoy the rest of your day and have the best day ever. Okay, take care. Bye bye.